Welcome to AAPI Voice, a program promotes AAPI community. I'm Lisa Gray. With my co-host today is Grace Lee. Today, we have the pleasure of talking with a former Michigan State Senator, Mike Kowall, who is running for Oakland County Executive. Mike, thank you for taking the time talking with us. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's great to see you, Lisa. It's been a little while. And Grace, it's good to see you again as well.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Mike. Hi, Lisa.
Thank you very much. Shall we start with the first question? Mike, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how your professional experiences prepared you for this position and why you decided to run for Oakland County Executive?
As you know, Lisa, I have extensive experience with the Michigan State Legislature, as well as working with units of the federal government with economic development. We've had a lot of situations we worked with over the years, and we're more than happy to look at what we can do here at Oakland County. As you know, economic development is a major issue right now with the economy, what's going on here in the United States, as well as in the eastern part of the world with China and Japan, Taiwan. A lot of moving parts right now. So I think it's imperative that we have somebody with experience that has dealt with the Chinese government, the Taiwanese, the Japanese, and a variety of other governments in the East, and knowing how all those parts kind of work together to make it all fit here for the United States and for everybody else involved in those contracts.
One of the top issues affecting everyone in the county is obviously the COVID-19 crisis. If you were in this position, is there anything you would do differently to help the people and the businesses in Oakland County?
Well, the first thing I would have done is I would have gotten a restraining order not to allow people with COVID to be put into senior centers, where that's where our treasures of our generations are living, and you know that they're the most endangered group for contracting this virus. I would have separated them out. Would not have allowed that to happen, and I think a restraining order would have been the thing to do to stop that. We have here in Novi, we've had one of our senior centers where people are living and being taken care of, that we lost about 75 out of 100 people in that one particular home because the state government put people with COVID into that system. So I know it's a learning experience because this is brand new, but at the same time, common sense tells you that if there's a polio outbreak or a measles or mumps outbreak, you don't put them into where seniors are housed and living. There's a variety of things that should have been done with the federal government. There should have been a lot more interaction, but unfortunately, with our governor right now, she's fighting with our federal government, and a child knows that if you're arguing with somebody, it's going to be counterproductive. Nothing's going to get done. So I think a little bit working together a little bit closer would be a more prudent thing to do.
As you may be aware that there has been an increased number of racial discriminations against Asian Pacific Americans due to the COVID-19 crisis. What will you do to help Asian Pacific Americans feel safe in the current environment?
That's extremely unfortunate because, a rational human being would know that our local Asian restaurant is not going to be the cause of contracting the virus here in Oakland County. So a little bit of education goes a long way. Working with the schools, working with the community, especially the community leaders with our Asian community, I think would be a little bit would go a long way. I can tell you that the minute the restaurants open back up out in White Lake, my wife and I have two Chinese restaurants that we like to go to. So we went and got our carry out and took it home and enjoyed it. And I will tell you that the people that run those restaurants were very grateful that we showed up. And I feel as myself as being a community leader, showing the faith in these restaurants and the restaurateurs, go in there and enjoy the food and say hi and, you know, just be one human being to another. I think that's the beginning. Here in Novi in Oakland County, Brooks in the past has you know, started education with the you know, teaching kids Chinese, so that as they're growing up, it's almost like a second language. My grandson is speaking a few phrases in Cantonese, and he calls me Jaja, which is Polish for grandpa. And he says, Jaja, and say, and I said, well, what does that mean? He says, well, I'm not sure, but that's what they told us to say. So he's learning, and you know, that's where it's cultural education. And I like the fact that you know, we have an all-day Japanese school here in Novi on Saturdays. I'd like to see that throughout the county with the you know, Chinese and Japanese and a variety of the Asian communities. I think that would serve us well into the future, because it's not just the language, it's the mindset, and to understand where people are coming from, the history and the thousands of year histories that the Chinese and that came out of the Orient, starting with the treasure fleets leaving out of Fuzhou. So I'm very interested in making that available to the kids in school, you know, here in Oakland County.
Education is a top priority to Asian families. How would you make sure the Asian kids would have equal opportunity in education?
Well, when I worked in China for a very short period of time, I began to realize how important the education system was to the Chinese families. That they were you know, very much interested in their children learning, not just you know, 5 days a week like we do here, but you know, six days a week. The kids go to school on Saturdays as well. I would never try to push that on folks here in our community. I don't think that would be received very well. But at the same time, we have to stress, you know, the importance of learning and moving forward. Now with the COVID virus, we can do a lot of that online. And I've noticed that my daughter's a teacher, and she is pretty much online 6 days a week. And I know she takes phone calls on Sundays with parents calling to want to know how their children are doing. But I do know, you know, from my past experiences, that with the Asian community, education is paramount. We want our kids to do better than we did, and much the same as our parents did with us. And it's all about I guess it's saving face with the community and making sure that people understand that we're just all striving to do that much better.
Outside of your professional experiences, what are some of the ways that you have been involved in the community? I've
been involved in a lot of different ways, and here in my former Senate district, I'm going to again go back to Novi because that's where I'm sitting at the moment. But we have a large, you know, East Indian community. We have large Chinese, Japanese, just a real eclectic group of people. And I've had the opportunity to go to a lot of the ceremonies, the churches, the temples, and experience the ceremonies that take place. Some of them are just they're fantastic to go to, and as you can tell, I enjoy food, and I get into the churches and the communities, and everybody wants you to eat, so I have no problem saying yes. But I like the fact that a lot of the businesses are coming in, and you can't help but get involved. I've had multiple dinners at the Embassy of Japan here in Bloomfield Hills, and had the opportunity to meet with just not only the husbands that are you know, running the companies, but the wives too, and they bring the children along, and you get accepted into the culture, and I think that's the best part.
Economic power is one of Oakland County's strengths, but we are lacking the innovation strategy. Automation only used to be the incubators for the startups, but they have changed their focus to be more on the industry 4.0 companies right now. In the Oakland University, they have an incubator, but they are not very strong either. So what is your plan for the innovation and to have more startups for the county?
I play golf very poorly. And what I tell people when they realize how badly I play golf, you have to go back to your basics. And I think what we need to do is go back to your basics on our economic outlook. I helped set up Automation Alley originally with Brooks Patterson. I was the force in Lansing that made sure that the funding was there to keep Automation Alley working and moving in a forward direction. I think we need to get back to that. I think there's been a little bit of a change of attitude, probably because Brooks wasn't hands-on like he was, and some of the people that Brooks had there retired and a new regime came in. We can fix that. That's one of the things I look forward to doing, and making sure that our people from Oakland County travel and talk to, the powers that be on the other side of the world, and make sure that we're all coming together to make things work.
Next questions. The regional public transit has always been a hot topic when the three major counties executives and the mayor of Detroit get together. So what's your opinion about it?
I was the second signer on the legislation that set up the transportation system in Detroit, the new train that runs from downtown to New Center. And I was in favor of looking at ways of getting that train to go all the way out to Pontiac. But we have to make sure that it's fair and equitable, that each community that is going to receive transit, that there's not it's not disjointed as far as the quality of who pays for it. And I'm not against mass transit. I just want to make sure that it's equitable for everybody in the county. But we have to really sit down and talk about is what's going to come next. Do we want to take and basically sign a contract to make payments for the next 30 to 50 years on a system that might not, let's just say it might not be working with the onset of autonomous vehicles? I've worked with Toyota, I've worked with Nissan, I've worked with GM, Ford, Chrysler, and Fiat, all the different car companies. And within 6 or 7 years, we're going to see autonomous vehicles running around our communities, moving people from their homes to their work. And now with the onset of the virus, we're seeing systems in California, New York, that they're starting to go broke because nobody's riding them anymore for fear of contracting the virus. It's a new day. Everything is, it's like machinery. Everything, all the parts are moving, and periodically they all realign themselves and they have to go back and be readjusted. And I think before we commit, everybody to a long-term debt, we need to look and see where we're really going to go into the future. And being of Asian descent, you are fully aware that that community always makes plans for not just 1 year, not just 2 years, not just 3 years, but 100 years. That's what they're looking out. And we need to take a page out of that book and apply it to, the way we do business here in the United States and in Michigan. And one thing that I've learned from the Asian community is that. And I think that's a very smart thing to do.
Let's talk about investment. Foreign investment has been an important growth strategy for Oakland County. What is your plan to attract more foreign investment due to current economic climate?
There's a lot of things that we used to do that we don't do anymore. We decided that for whatever reason, we're going to let our pharmaceutical industry all go to, at one point in time, it all went to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico got hit by a hurricane. The industry got wiped out. Now a lot of it went to China, and there's some issues there, with trade, and governments are governments, and they're going to do what they do. But when people need their medications, it should be locally sourced, and be it a, one of our big pharmas or pharmas from around the world, we need to start looking at going back and doing that regionally, because we have University of Michigan, Michigan State, Oakland University, Eastern, all these different, pharmaceutical colleges that are right here in our backyard. And we see students coming from all over the world to study here. So if they're going to study here, maybe we should manufacture a lot of that here as well. And it cuts down on the cost and, shipping and, the time that it takes. So it's something that we really need to look at. And I've already had one company contact me regarding a new pharmaceuticals company out in the Rochester Hills area. So it's starting on its own. So we need to nurture it and encourage it. That's just one. We're seeing a lot of satellite companies starting to look at Michigan just because of the location. And our new satellites that we're talking about launching out of some of the old Air Force bases that we have, they're the size of cell phones. They're not the size of a school bus anymore. They're that big. And they launch up literally hundreds of them. And that's going to move us into the 5G network, which we need to really tie into in a big way, because that's the way industry is going. And that's just a few of the exciting things that are happening.
One of the Democrat candidates for the executive directors discussed about, building 9 regional hospitals in the county to help the low-income residents. Do we have do we need 9 hospitals? What's your opinion about it?
I haven't read his exact way that he wants to get there. I understand that there's a need. We have hospitals. Oakland County is rich with hospitals. In my Senate district alone, we had McLaren, we had Providence, we had Henry Ford, we have I know I'm forgetting at least 2 or 3.
Is it Beaumont?
Beaumont's the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to get to a point where we're super saturated with hospitals, because it puts a strain on, employees. How many people are you going to be able to hire to do those particular jobs? But that's not saying that we shouldn't set up some system that would encourage low-income people to be able to use these services. And that's where my expertise of dealing with the federal government, being able to bring in those dollars to help pay for it, because there is no Michigan dollars from the state to pay for it. And I know our governor would be the first one to tell you that. In Oakland County, we're limited with how much money we have, and we're actually limited as to what we can do constitutionally. County governments can only do so much. Once you get past a certain point, it's a tipping point. I would be more interested in making sure that we're dealing with mental health issues, that we set up, collaboration between all the hospitals and create some medical or mental health centers that we can help people that really need to be taken care of, so they don't end up in our jails or our prisons, or just left, to wander on the sides of the road. So, that's something we should all get together and talk about. But building new hospital systems, first question I'd ask for, who's going to pay for it?
Lastly, please summarize and share with the audiences that why should the voters vote for you?
I have the experience. I have over 20 years experience of working with governments. I have 30 years experience before that working in the construction industry and building Michigan. My family did that for the last 100 years. My family's been here working, building the state, making it what it is. But I will tell you that I am able to take a broken vase and put it back together again. I did that in White Lake Township when it was in very dire straits economically. We did that here in Michigan with Governor Snyder. And I see that's going to have to happen here again in Oakland County, just reassembling that vase and turning it back into the artwork piece that it is. And we have the potential of being the best of the best of the best in the United States of America as far as counties with education, healthcare, places to live, and the best place in the world to raise your family.
Mike, Grace, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. And for everyone is watching, thank you very much for joining us. Please subscribe our channel and see you next time.
很快就可以跟朋友再聚，还有家庭聚会、游行、体育盛事和音乐会。为了帮助社区在重回正轨的时候准备就绪，请立即回复2020年人口普查。现在上网花几分钟的时间，即可影响到医疗保健、公共设施和教育在未来10年的发展。立即上2020census.gov 填好问卷，让美国有更美好的明天。事不宜迟，展开未来，即刻上2020census.gov/languages 回复人口普查。